So Ken Presse, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Steve. How are you?
I'm very good. So we have new music from you and just you. Did this new music come about during lockdown? Is that kind of why you've been focusing on things on your own?
It did. I mean, before, we all get kind of wrapped up in our world. And so before COVID, I was touring quite a bit. I was producing and writing for other artists, and I never made time to do my own project, although it was always in the back of my mind. And I think growing up, it was always a dream of mine to be like, I'm going to do something on my own. And when COVID hit, I remember the first couple weeks, I took the first 2 weeks off of lockdown, and I did nothing, which I hadn't done. And I can't remember the last time I took 2 weeks off, And then I got stressed out. Then I was like, all right, well, I'm not doing anything. Like we hadn't started the Zoom rights yet. It seemed like we were all a bit confused. Like, how are we going to keep going in music? There's no shows. How are we going to write together? So everyone was kind of in limbo. And that's when I'm like, well, I got to do something. There's no better time than now to start a project.
Absolutely. So had you not written anything just for yourself up until that point? Everything you'd done before that had been for other artists. Obviously, we know you from playing with Franklin Electric, but is this the first thing that you'd done knowing that you were going to put it out just under your own name?
Yes. Yeah. I'd written songs for myself, but never, I can't say I remember them. I never took the time to demo them or to record them. So it was always just kind of like, yeah, I'll write a couple tunes for fun. And the ones that I was like, oh, I'm writing with this pop artist. Okay, well, I'll use that for them. A country artist, I'll use that for them.
Yeah.
And the rest just finished in the bin.
So how did the writing process change for you when you knew that it wasn't that nobody else had to approve it?
It's a good question. Time changed everything. So that's how my writing process changed. All of a sudden I had time to demo songs I think the project, like, it's still not completely focused. It's still, I was writing folk tunes. I was writing country tunes. I grew up I was a metalhead when I was a kid. That's why I started playing guitar.
Right.
And so time allowed me to start to focus in on what I want to do. And that was a huge difference.
Okay. So you say you were into metal growing up. Like what kind of things were you listening to growing up?
So I've seen Metallica in concert 5 times. I had the long hair, I had the chains. I loved In Flames, Iron Maiden. Like, I played in a metal band as a kid. You remember on St. Catherine, there was a bar called Lex?
It might have been before my time. I've only been in Montreal since 2014.
Okay, yeah, it closed down a while ago.
Okay.
But yeah, I was just a little metalhead kid. I think if there's one band that I met, like if I ran into James Hetfield, I'd be like, oh my God, that's James Hetfield. I'd be starstruck.
Yeah, and he has these kind of larger than life persona anyway, right? He looks like he should be some kind of Roman god half the time, especially when he has the big mustache.
Right. And his lyrics, man, I'm always impressed, You see him in interviews and he's a smart guy, but then you read his lyrics and you're like, man, that's incredible.
So you have this single that's just come out. You have the video for it. Mm-hmm. What can you tell us about the song? It's obviously a very personal song. It's kind of gut wrenching in some ways, especially when you watch it with the video. What can you tell us about writing that song and how you got that kind of feeling out?
Well, it's a breakup song, and I think that's pretty original. No one's ever written a breakup song before. So no, it's a breakup song, and I think the difference is that at least for me, there's that one breakup I'll always remember. And as happy as you are in your life, whatever's happening, there's always that one person you think about and you're like, I wonder what life would have been even years after it's happened. And the beginning of the song is, it used to take 3 drinks to get over someone. So that's reflective of how at the time I coped with that breakup, because I started drinking quite a bit. And so so that's really what it's about. My lack of, I guess, coping mechanism to deal with that person I thought I'd be with forever.
And the person that you were thinking of when you wrote that song, have they heard the song? Do you know? Do they even know it's about them?
That's a good question. I wonder if they have heard the song. I don't think they have.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with no.
And how would you feel like if you ever get to play this in front of an audience and you look out into the crowd and you see that face at the back of the person that you had in mind? How would you feel like singing that?
I would point them out to the crowd and be like, "Hey, it's about her." How would I feel? I guess, yeah. I think the feelings would come back. You know, the feeling of that emptiness, that just your heart just dropping. I think that's what would happen. But I am in a very happy relationship, so.
So that's the first song. Is what's to come after that?
I think the plan is to put out an EP, because right now there's about 15 songs written and demoed.
Oh wow.
And yeah, just go with the EP. And I think really, you know, the sound is really an amalgamation of all my experiences as a musician. So obviously I've played with Franklin for quite a while, in indie rock band or indie pop. And then I've produced top 40 pop music. I've written for country artists. I love playing banjo, resonator. So all, and I grew up also listening to classical music. My first instrument was the violin when I was 6. So,
wow.
So there's even songs with full orchestrations. And I think, yeah, that's kind of what's to be expected with the EP.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is this first song representative of the other songs that you've got coming?
I think so. This one's a little more clear, if I could say it that way.
Okay.
Like it's got your verse, it's got your chorus, it's got a bridge. The other ones are a bit more of a journey at times.
What about instruments on the EP? Are you playing everything?
So I play everything except for the drums and the orchestra.
Okay.
So the orchestra, I write out the parts, but I can't play the violin anymore. Those days are long gone. I forgot to mention it was my first instrument when I was 6, but I played it for about 8 months and then I quit. So I was never that good. So I can't wait to play this music live, because it kind of is eclectic in a way.
So have you actually thought about live performances? Is there anything that you're planning around the release of the EP?
With COVID, it's been tough for the shows. I think I've got a couple acoustic things, like I'm doing a little performance for CBC, but in terms of shows, I think the first one booked is in February. It's been pretty tough. I do have a gig May 19th with the Franklin Electric, but
so you're already booking for next year as a solo artist, or what's that?
Yeah, starting to book a couple gigs. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Is that local or further afield?
That one is the one in February is in Quebec City, and ideally do some runs at the festivals next summer. And because it's such an exciting thought, just to be like, I get to put a show together from scratch. You know, it is a show. Like you're there, you're playing your music, but people pay tickets.
And I guess with this music that you're making, you have the option of taking a band out or playing solo, right? You could get away with either.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
Which makes touring further afield more of a possibility, yeah? Yeah,
it's so much easier touring when you're alone, for sure. Well, not easier on your emotional state. It's hard to be alone, but I think easier on, when you're trying to look for opening acts.
Yeah.
Most of the times they don't want a full band for changeover, right? Between the opening act and the main act.
Yeah.
If the first act has 5-6 people, it's a lot of work to get the next act going. So yeah, it makes getting shows easier, I think.
Speaking about that, if you could go on tour with one artist, like opening for them, like your dream artist, dream scenario, who do you think you would choose?
I think I would go with City and Color, Dallas Green.
Okay, nice.
Could I choose 2? I'm going to choose 2.
Yeah, choose 2, but give me reasons why.
Well, okay, City and Color. I mean, I grew up listening to Alexis on Fire, and then when he put out his solo stuff, it's just it struck a chord with me, and I think that's possibly the only band that I used to listen to when I was 14, 15 years old. I can't quite remember the age, or maybe a solo project that was a bit older, but anyway, somewhere around there. And that I still listen to all the time today.
Right. So you've got City and Color. Who else?
I'd say lately Chris Stapleton.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, having spent because I've spent quite a bit of time in Nashville, at least before COVID, doing writing over there.
Mhm.
Um, and I
I was
just
there. I was there 3 years ago today.
what a cool city.
Yeah.
Like I've never, writing sessions are great in Montreal. Like I love it here. But you write with people there and it's just, you walk into any open mic and some little kid walks up and you're like, dude, you're like the greatest singer I've ever seen. I don't want to go up and do this open mic after you. You're like a 12-year-old kid and you're amazing.
So let's talk a little bit about Montreal. How long have you been here?
My whole life.
Your whole life. So you know the city well. What are your favorite spots to kind of hang out in normal times?
You know what's funny? I'm not much of a city person. So I have like some buddies that come from Nashville to Montreal and they're like, hey, let's go to this super hip restaurant. They have nice craft beers. I'm like, or this nice pub. I'm like, I've never heard of it. They actually take me around the city. I'd have to say, like, for me, it's more going into the woods, going fishing, Cap Saint Jacques. Mount Royal's nice.
Mhm.
WithThe, which is a little park in the city. But really, the Laurentians, I like to get out of the city, go to the lake, go to the woods, build
Right.
something. Take a day and be like, you know what? I'm gonna try to build a little shed.
And you get to do that much? Do you get to like get out into nature a lot?
Not so much lately. Life's been a bit crazy. Lots of work.
For sure.
But anytime I could get a day off, that's where I go.
Do you have any favorite venues in Montreal that you like to play?
Sure, and tell us.
Yeah,
That was, it's not, at the end of the day, it's not so much the room, it's the people in the room.
of course.
So Franklin's well known in Montreal and in Quebec. So being in that room with a sold out crowd, singing every single word, anything you do on guitar, you step up and play a little line and everyone's like, yeah, it was amazing. It's like, it's an incredible feeling. And I think since, Tellus was sold out and everyone was so into it, it's a big show. That's what makes it special. But
Yeah,
really, any room is great. Depends on the fans.
good answer. So obviously your music's really well known in Montreal, but are there any other place? And I know you've toured a lot of places around the world. Are there any other places where your music or the band's music is particularly popular?
Uh, I think Germany was one of the cool places.
I think that's one of the last places you went, right?
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah. Yeah. The last show we did, I think, was Metropolis or Tellus. And before that, I think it was Germany. Yeah, we go there quite a bit. The people are so friendly. I do remember one time in Germany, this is probably my most embarrassing tour story. I fell over on stage with my mic stand and my guitar.
Wow. How does that happen?
Well, all right, let me explain this. It was a bit of a smaller stage.
Okay.
You go from playing Montreal, you play these stages where you have room to walk around. And then obviously in Germany, you're playing smaller rooms, smaller stages. So there's cables everywhere and there's power bars everywhere. So I walked up to the front of the stage. I was playing a little guitar line and I started walking backwards and I tripped over one of the power bars in front. And to
Oh.
try to stop myself from falling, obviously my idea was, well, let me grab the mic stand. That should hold me up. And I took it along with me.
And did your bandmates, were they sympathetic?
Oh yeah, we all had a laugh. I think I stayed there for a solid minute on the ground just laughing that I'd fallen over on stage. I'm like, I did it. I actually fell over on stage.
So what's next for you? Obviously, we're in uncertain times still. Do you have plans for like the next couple of months? What's going to be happening with the music?
Yeah, I think just trying to push it as much as possible and see what happens. See how people receive it. It's a bit nerve-wracking. It's my first single alone. And I don't know. Like there's always, musicians, or let me speak for myself, maybe not everybody, but at least for me, you're always there's a sense of insecurity to a certain extent.
Mhm.
It's like how anytime you even write, the most dangerous thing as a writer is when you're trying to write a song and then that little voice in your head says, is this good though? Is it? And then it all falls apart and the lyrics aren't coming out, your melodies, and you kind of freeze up and you're like, oh, maybe this isn't good. And so there's obviously a tiny bit of that in this where it's like, oh, for the first time, I'm putting something, I produced the song, I mixed the song. I wrote it with a couple other guys as well. But so from start to finish, like it's you know, it's your kind of your baby, and you're telling the world, look at my baby. What do you think? Judge it for me, would you?
Yeah, for sure. And do you have one person that you would play a song to first, and they would give you honest criticism back for you?
Yes, I would say in anything I've ever written, I've ever produced, like the final say is my girlfriend, my partner, who says, I don't think that one's so good. I'm like, all right, let's move on. I'm scrapping it. She's like, no, I don't want you to scrap it. I'm like, you said it wasn't good. I'm moving on.
Yeah. And you need that person in your life, right? Because everybody else is just going to tell you that everything's great.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's true of a lot of musicians, that their partners are, you need somebody to bounce ideas off of.
Yeah.
You know, I have a buddy in Nashville, and it's the same thing with his wife. He's like, anything I do, she hears, and if she doesn't like it, well, I'm not doing anything with it. To the point, I'm pretty sure my partner's written a couple lyrics on this EP. I should give her credit.
I was going to say, does she get the credit?
No, but financially we share the money, so it's all good.
Yeah, that's true. I love the song, and I'm really looking forward to what else is to come with you. And hopefully we will get to see it in a room somewhere with other people having a beer and no masks, maybe. Well,
I really hope so. We'll have a beer together after the gig.
Yeah, okay. I look forward to that. So thanks for your time today, and good luck with everything, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Great. Thanks so much, Steve.
All right. Thanks, Ken.